The cardboard box slipped from my trembling fingers, hitting the scuffed hardwood floor with a hollow thud that echoed through the empty apartment. I stood frozen in the doorway, my entire body aching from 3 flights of stairs and a sleepless week of packing, running, hiding. The September air filtering through the cracked window carried the scent of rain and exhaust fumes, mixed with something else, cigarette smoke from somewhere nearby, expensive and foreign. I was safe now. I had to be. My reflection stared back at me from the window glass, and I barely recognized the woman looking back. Dark circles had carved themselves beneath my eyes, my cheekbones too sharp after weeks of barely eating. The bruise on my collarbone had faded to a sickly yellow-green, hidden beneath my oversized sweater. 26 years old, and I looked haunted, a ghost wearing my face. "You're okay, Emma. You're okay," I whispered to myself, the mantra I'd been repeating for the past 3 weeks since I'd finally gathered the courage to leave Marcus. 3 weeks since I'd changed my phone number, closed my social media accounts, and spent every penny I'd saved on this tiny 1-bedroom in a building where no one would think to look for me. The apartment smelled like old paint and someone else's memories. It was smaller than the photos suggested. Weren't they always? But it was mine. The walls were a dingy cream color, water stains blooming across the ceiling like strange flowers. But the locks were new. I'd made sure of that before signing the lease. 2 deadbolts and a chain. The superintendent had looked at me strangely when I'd insisted, but I didn't care what he thought. I dragged the box into what would be my bedroom, my sneakers squeaking against the floor. The late afternoon light slanted through the blinds, casting prison bar shadows across the empty space. I tried not to think about the metaphor. My phone buzzed in my pocket, the new one. The one Marcus didn't know existed, and my heart seized before I saw it was just the electric company confirming my setup appointment. I exhaled slowly, forcing my shoulders down from where they'd hunched near my ears. This was going to take time. Healing always did. I was kneeling beside the box, pulling out mismatched sheets and a pillow that smelled like the storage unit, when I heard it. Music. Classical music, something haunting and complex, bleeding through the wall that separated my apartment from the one next door. It was beautiful and sad, played on what sounded like an expensive sound system, the kind that cost more than 3 months of my rent. Strange for this neighborhood. This building was supposed to be full of students and struggling artists, people like me who were just trying to survive, but that music spoke of wealth, of a life I couldn't even imagine. I pressed my palm against the wall, feeling the subtle vibration of the bass notes. For a moment, I let myself get lost in it, let it drown out the constant anxiety thrumming through my veins. Then it stopped. The silence that followed felt loaded, expectant. I pulled my hand back as if the wall had burned me. "Stop being paranoid," I muttered, returning to my unpacking. "It's just a neighbor who likes classical music." But my hands were shaking again as I made up my bed with the old sheets, as I hung my meager collection of clothes in the closet. Everything I owned fit into 4 boxes. Marcus had kept everything else, the furniture, the dishes, the life we'd built together. Or rather, the life he'd built around me. A cage disguised as love. By the time darkness fell, I'd managed to create something resembling a home. My mattress on the floor, a lamp I'd found at a thrift store, my books stacked against the wall like a paper fortress. It wasn't much, but it was mine. My stomach growled, reminding me I hadn't eaten since the gas station coffee and stale donut this morning. I'd seen a small grocery store 2 blocks away when I'd driven in. I could make it there and back before it got too late. I grabbed my jacket and my keys, checking the locks 3 times before I left. The hallway was dimly lit, one of the fluorescent bulbs flickering with an electric buzz that set my teeth on edge. I walked quickly toward the stairs, my footsteps the only sound. Then I heard the door open behind me. I didn't mean to look. I should have kept walking, should have minded my own business, but something made me glance back over my shoulder. The man who emerged from the apartment next to mine didn't belong here. That was my first thought, immediate and certain. He belonged in magazines, in movies, in places where velvet ropes kept out ordinary people, tall, easily over 6 feet, with dark hair swept back from a face that could have been carved from marble, all sharp angles and cruel beauty. He wore a suit that I instinctively knew cost more than my car, charcoal gray with a subtle pinstripe, the fabric moving like water over his broad shoulders, but it was his eyes that stopped my breath. Dark, almost black in the hallway's poor lighting, and fixed directly on me with an intensity that felt physical, predatory, like he was cataloging every detail, filing me away for future reference. "Buonasera," he said, his voice a low rumble with an accent that curled around the Italian words like smoke. "Good evening," I should have responded, should have nodded politely and continued on my way. Instead, I stood frozen, a deer caught in headlights, every instinct screaming danger, even as my brain tried to rationalize that he was just a neighbor, just a man. 2 other men appeared behind him, both built like brick walls in dark suits, their hands clasped in front of them in a stance I recognized from too many movies. Security. Bodyguards. What kind of person needed bodyguards in a building like this? My voice came out as barely a whisper. I cleared my throat, took a step back. "Good evening." His lips curved into something that might have been a smile on someone else, but on him looked like a promise of things I couldn't name. Dangerous things. "You are new." It wasn't a question. "The apartment next to mine. Yes, I just moved in today." Why was I telling him this? Why couldn't I look away from those eyes? He took a step toward me, and I instinctively retreated until my back hit the wall. The hallway suddenly felt impossibly small, the air thick and hard to breathe. He smelled like expensive cologne and something else. Gunpowder, maybe. Or was I imagining it? My heart hammered against my ribs. "Welcome to the building," he said, each word deliberate and weighted. "I am Dante Salvatore." He extended his hand, and I stared at it like it might bite. His fingers were long, elegant, a silver ring on his right hand catching the flickering light, some kind of family crest, intricate and old. I knew I should take his hand, knew that refusing would be rude, would draw attention, would mark me as strange. My palm slid into his, and his fingers closed around mine with a gentleness that contradicted everything else about him. His skin was warm, calloused in unexpected places. A working man's hands in a rich man's suit. "Emma," I breathed. "Emma." Thompson. The lie came automatically. I'd practiced it 100 times. My mother's maiden name, a fresh start. Emma. The way he said my name felt like a caress and a claim all at once. He held my hand a moment too long, his thumb brushing across my knuckles in a gesture that sent electricity racing up my arm. "A beautiful name." I pulled my hand back, cradling it against my chest. I need to go. Grocery shopping. "At this hour?" One dark eyebrow arched. "The neighborhood, it is not always safe at night." "I'll be fine." I edged along the wall, desperate for distance, for air, for the safety of the stairwell. Nonetheless, he gestured to one of the men behind him. "Marco will accompany you." "No." The word came out too sharp, too panicked. I forced myself to breathe, to soften my tone. "No, thank you. Really, I'll be fine. I appreciate it, but I insist." There was steel beneath the silk of his voice now. This was a man who didn't hear the word no often, maybe ever. The bodyguard, Marco, moved forward, his expression neutral, but his presence overwhelming. I looked from him to Dante, feeling the walls closing in, feeling trapped again, feeling like I'd escaped one cage only to stumble into another. "Okay," I whispered. Because what else could I say? "Thank you." Dante's smile returned, warmer now. Pleased. "Prego. We must look after our neighbors, see? Especially His gaze those who traveled seem over me, missing nothing, not my too thin frame, not the way I held myself like something broken, not the fear I couldn't quite hide. In need of protection. I fled then, as gracefully as I could manage, walking too quickly toward the stairs with Marco following 3 steps behind. I could feel Dante's eyes on me the entire way, heavy as a hand on my spine. Only when I turned the corner did I dare to breathe fully again. What had I done? Who was that man? And why did every instinct I possessed scream that I'd just made a terrible mistake, that in trying to hide from one monster, I'd moved in right next door to something far, far more dangerous. The cool night air hit my face as I pushed through the building's entrance, but it did nothing to calm the racing of my heart. Marco remained silent beside me, his presence both protective and imprisoning. The street was quiet, most of the shops already closed, their windows dark eyes watching our passage. My new life was supposed to be simple, safe, anonymous. Instead, I'd somehow caught the attention of a man who traveled with bodyguards and spoke in commands disguised as courtesy. A man whose eyes had seen through every wall I'd built, stripping me bare in a single glance. I pulled my jacket tighter around myself and walked faster, but I couldn't outrun the certainty settling in my bones like ice. I wasn't safe at all. The grocery store's fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, too bright after the darkness of the street. I grabbed a basket with trembling hands and tried to focus on the mundane task of shopping: bread, eggs, pasta, something to keep me alive for the next few days. But my mind kept circling back to Dante Salvatore and those obsidian eyes that had seen too much. Marco stood by the entrance, his bulk blocking half the doorway, arms crossed over his chest. The cashier kept glancing at him nervously. I wanted to apologize, to explain, but what would I even say? Sorry. My neighbor insisted his bodyguard follow me to buy cereal. I moved through the aisles mechanically, barely registering what I put in my basket: cheap coffee, a carton of milk, ramen noodles because they were $1 each, and I was counting every penny. The kind of desperate poverty shopping I'd thought I'd left behind in college. You need more than that. I spun around, nearly dropping the basket. Marco had materialized beside me, silent as a ghost despite his size. Up close, I could see the scar that ran from his temple to his jaw, a white line against olive skin. His eyes were hard, but not unkind. "I'm sorry," I managed. He gestured at my pathetic collection of items. "You are too thin. Mr. Salvatore would not approve of you starving yourself." Heat flooded my cheeks. "Mr. Salvatore doesn't need to approve of anything I do. I barely know the man." "You will." Marco said it with such certainty that my stomach twisted. "He has taken an interest." The words hung between us, loaded with meaning I didn't want to examine. I don't need anyone taking an interest in me. I just want to be left alone. Something that might have been pity flickered across Marco's face. "That is no longer possible, signorina. Not now." Before I could respond, he plucked the basket from my hands and began filling it himself. Fresh vegetables, good cheese, real pasta from Italy, olive oil that cost more than my entire original basket. I watched in stunned silence as he moved through the store with the efficiency of someone who'd done this before, someone who knew exactly what his employer expected. "I can't afford," I started. "Mr. Salvatore's account." Marco pulled out a black card that gleamed under the lights. "He provides for those under his protection." "I'm not under his protection." My voice rose, drawing stares from the few other shoppers. I lowered it to a harsh whisper. "I don't even know him. We met in a hallway 5 minutes ago. This is insane." Marco's expression didn't change. "You moved into the apartment next to his. You are now his responsibility. This is how it works." "That's not how anything works." But even as I protested, he was walking toward the checkout, my meager groceries mixed with his expensive additions. The cashier rang everything up with shaking hands, her eyes darting between Marco's scarred face and the black card. I stood there, helpless and furious, and underneath it all, terrified. Because this wasn't normal. None of this was normal. And I knew, with the instinct that had kept me alive through 2 years with Marcus, that I was in way over my head. The walk back to the apartment felt like a death march. Marco carried the bags, 4 of them now, stuffed full, and I walked beside him in silence, my mind racing. I should leave. Should pack up my 4 boxes and disappear again. Find another building, another neighborhood, another city if necessary. But where would I go? I'd spent everything on the deposit and first month's rent. I had maybe $200 to my name and a car that might not survive another cross-country trip. The building loomed ahead, and my steps slowed. Marco noticed, adjusting his pace to match mine. "He is not like the man you are running from," he said quietly. I stopped walking entirely. "How did you—" I have been doing this work for many years, Signorina. I know the signs. The way you flinch at sudden movements. The way you watch the exits. The bruises you think you have hidden. His voice was gentle, almost fatherly. Mr. Salvatore, he sees these things too. It is why he sent me with you, why he will not let harm come to you now. Tears burned behind my eyes. I blinked them back furiously. I don't need a white knight. I don't need saving. I just need people to leave me alone. Then you should not have moved next door to Dante Salvatore. Marco started walking again, and I had no choice but to follow. The apartment was dark when I returned. My hands full of groceries I hadn't paid for. My mind full of questions I was afraid to ask. Marco set the bags on my counter. I didn't remember unlocking the door, but it was open anyway, and began unpacking them with the same efficient movements. Please stop, I said. Just, please. He paused, looking at me for a long moment. Lock your doors tonight, all of them. And if you need anything at all, you knock on Mr. Salvatore's door. Capisce? I understand. I won't need anything. Marco's lips quirked in something that wasn't quite a smile. We will see. He left, closing the door behind him with a soft click that sounded like a cell door locking. I stood in my kitchen, surrounded by food I hadn't chosen, bought with money that wasn't mine, and felt the walls closing in again. This was wrong. All of this was wrong. Dante Salvatore was dangerous. Maybe more dangerous than Marcus had ever been, because at least with Marcus, I'd known what kind of monster he was. But I was so tired. Tired of running. Tired of being afraid. Tired of the constant vigilance that had become my life. So I put away the groceries, made myself pasta with the expensive olive oil, and told myself I'd figure it out tomorrow. Tomorrow I'd set boundaries. Tomorrow I'd make it clear that I didn't need or want Dante Salvatore's protection. Tomorrow. I woke to the sound of screaming. My heart slammed against my ribs as I shot upright, tangled in my sheets, disoriented in the darkness. For a horrible moment, I thought Marcus had found me, thought the screaming was my own. Then I realized it was coming from outside, from the street below. I stumbled to the window, my legs weak with adrenaline. 3 floors down, a scene was unfolding that looked ripped from a movie. 2 black SUVs with tinted windows, men in suits surrounding a figure on the ground. Even from this distance, I could see the blood. I should look away, should close the blinds and pretend I'd seen nothing. Instead, I watched as one of the men made a phone call, as the others dragged the bleeding figure into one of the SUVs. The whole thing took less than 2 minutes. Then they were gone, melting into the night like they'd never existed. But the blood remained, a dark stain on the pavement. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely close the blinds. I backed away from the window, my mind trying to rationalize what I'd seen. A mugging gone wrong, a gang fight. Anything but what my instincts were screaming. A knock at my door made me nearly scream. I froze, staring at the door like it might burst into flames. The knock came again, patient, unhurried. Emma. Dante's voice, smooth as silk and just as dangerous. I know you are awake. I saw your light. I should stay silent, should pretend to be asleep, unreachable, unavailable. Instead, I found myself walking toward the door, my feet moving without conscious thought. I didn't unlock it, but I pressed my palm against the wood, feeling the barrier between us. What do you want? My voice was steadier than I felt. To make sure you are well. There was an incident in the street. I didn't see anything. The lie tasted bitter. A pause. That is wise. But I worry you are frightened. May I come in? Just to talk. No, the word came out harsh, final. It's the middle of the night. This isn't appropriate. Appropriate. He said the word like it amused him. Very well. But Emma? The world can be dangerous for those who are alone. Remember that I am here. Remember that you are not alone anymore. I heard his footsteps retreat, heard his door open and close. Only then did I realize I was crying, silent tears tracking down my cheeks. What had I stumbled into? What kind of neighborhood had I chosen? And why did some terrible part of me feel safer, knowing that Dante Salvatore was on the other side of that wall, separated from me by nothing but plaster and stubbornness? I went back to bed but didn't sleep. Instead, I stared at the ceiling and listened to the faint sound of that classical music playing again next door, a requiem for innocence I'd lost a long time ago. Morning came too quickly, gray light filtering through my thin curtains. I'd slept maybe 2 hours, fitful dreams full of blood and dark eyes and hands that held too tight. My phone showed 7 a.m., and I had a job interview at 9, a waitressing position at a diner across town. Not glamorous, but it was work, and I needed the money desperately. I showered in lukewarm water, the building's heating system groaning and protesting, dressed in the only professional outfit I owned, black slacks and a white blouse, both slightly wrinkled from the box. Applied makeup to hide the exhaustion, the fear, the truth of who I was and what I was running from. The hallway was empty when I left, and I breathed a sigh of relief. No Dante, no Marco, no reminders of last night's violence. Just a normal morning in a normal building. The illusion shattered when I reached the lobby. Dante stood by the entrance, talking in rapid Italian to 2 men I didn't recognize. He wore another suit, this one navy blue, and even in the building's harsh morning light, he was devastating. Beautiful and terrible, like a fallen angel who'd found his calling in hell. He saw me immediately. Of course he did. Those dark eyes tracked my movement down the stairs, and I watched as he said something to the men that sent them quickly out the door. Then it was just us. "Buongiorno, Emma." He smiled, and it should have been charming. Instead, it made my stomach flip. "You are going somewhere?" I clutched my purse tighter. "Job interview." "Ah." He moved closer, and I forced myself to stand my ground. "You do not need to work. I can provide—" "No." I cut him off, more sharply than I intended. "I don't need or want your money, Mr. Salvatore. I can take care of myself." His eyes narrowed slightly, the smile fading. "Can you?" He gestured toward the street, where the bloodstain from last night had been scrubbed away, leaving only clean pavement. This neighborhood, it is not always safe for a woman alone, especially one who attracts attention. I don't attract attention. I try very hard not to, and yet. He reached out, his fingers brushing my cheek so gently I barely felt it. I jerked back and his hand fell. "You have attracted mine. I didn't ask for it." "No," he agreed. "But you have it nonetheless. Tell me, Emma Thompson." The way he said my fake name told me he knew it was false. "Where is this interview?" I shouldn't tell him. Shouldn't give him any information about my life, my plans, my existence. The Silver Spoon Diner, on 5th Street. He pulled out his phone, typed something quickly. "I know the owner. I will make a call. Please don't." A panic rose in my throat. I need to do this myself. I need to prove that I can... Can what? His voice softened, and somehow that was worse than his commands. Can survive? Can rebuild? Can run forever from whatever it is you are fleeing? He stepped closer, and this time I had nowhere to retreat. "I am offering you protection, Emma. Safety. A life where you do not have to look over your shoulder every moment." "In exchange for what?" I whispered. "Nothing is free. I've learned that lesson." His expression darkened. "In exchange for nothing. You are under my protection now, that is all." "I don't understand. Why? You don't know me." "No," he said quietly, "but I will." A car horn honked outside, a sleek black Mercedes with Marco at the wheel. Dante's hand settled on the small of my back, gentle but inexorable, guiding me toward the door. "What are you doing?" I tried to pull away. "Taking you to your interview. You will be late if you take the bus." "I have a car, which I noticed is missing a brake light and has a tire that is dangerously low. Marco will drive you. He will wait. He will bring you home safely." I wanted to protest, wanted to assert my independence, my autonomy, my right to make my own choices. But his hand on my back was warm, and I was so tired of being cold, so tired of fighting every battle alone. "Just this once," I heard myself say. Dante's smile was triumphant, of course. Just this once. But we both knew it was a lie. There would be a next time, and a time after that, until suddenly I wouldn't remember what it felt like to move through the world without Dante Salvatore's shadow falling across my path. Marco opened the car door, and I slid into leather seats that probably cost more than my yearly salary. Dante leaned in, his face inches from mine, his breath warm against my ear. You are mine to protect now, Piccola. The sooner you accept this, the easier it will be. Then, he was gone, and Marco was pulling into traffic. And I was left staring at my reflection in the tinted window, wondering who the woman looking back at me really was, and wondering why, despite every logical reason to be terrified, some traitorous part of me felt safer than I had in years. The Silver Spoon Diner smelled like burnt coffee and old grease, the kind of place where the regulars knew the menu by heart and nobody asked questions. The owner, a heavy-set woman named Sheila, with kind eyes and hands rough from decades of work, looked me over with the practiced assessment of someone who'd hired 100 desperate girls just like me. You got experience? She asked, not unkindly. 2 years at a family restaurant in Ohio. Another lie, smooth as glass. I'd actually worked there for 4 years, but Emma Thompson couldn't have the same work history as Emma Richardson. Sheila nodded, making notes on a stained clipboard. References? I don't have any. The truth, for once. I had to leave my last job suddenly. Family emergency. She looked up, and I saw the recognition in her eyes. She'd seen women like me before. Women running from something, reinventing themselves in truck stop diners and all-night cafes. Women who needed second chances and didn't ask for pity. Can you start tomorrow? Relief flooded through me so intensely I felt dizzy. Yes. Absolutely. Thank you so much. The diner's bell chimed as the door opened. Sheila's expression changed instantly, morphing from maternal kindness to something harder, more cautious. I turned to see who'd entered, 2 men in expensive suits, out of place among the worn booths and faded linoleum. They moved with the same predatory grace as Marco, the same barely concealed danger. One of them nodded at Sheila, a gesture of recognition that made my stomach sink. We're here to collect, Sheila, the taller one said. It's Tuesday. I know what day it is, Nico. Sheila's voice was tight. Give me a minute. She disappeared into the back, leaving me alone with the 2 men. They looked me over with professional interest, cataloging, assessing. I kept my eyes down, every muscle tensed for flight. You're new, Nico observed. Starting work here? Maybe. I hated how small my voice sounded. Word of advice? He leaned against the counter. Too casual, too comfortable. Sheila's a good woman, but she's had some trouble lately. Might not be the best place for someone looking for stability. Before I could respond, Sheila returned with an envelope. She handed it to Nico without a word. Her jaw clenched. He opened it, counted the bills inside, and frowned. This is short. It's all I have right now. Business has been slow. That's not our problem. The second man spoke for the first time, his voice flat and cold. Mr. Castellano expects full payment. The name hit me like a punch. Castellano. I didn't know much about organized crime, but even I knew that name. One of the biggest families in the city. Their influence spreading like a disease through every neighborhood, every business. I'll have the rest by Friday, Sheila said, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. You tell Mr. Castellano that Sheila Romano keeps her word. Nico pocketed the envelope. Friday, but there'll be interest. They left, and the air in the diner seemed to decompress. Sheila sagged against the counter, suddenly looking every one of her 60-some years. You should know what you're getting into, she said quietly. If you work here, you work in a place that's under Castellano protection. That means a cut of your tips goes to them. Means you keep your mouth shut about what you see. Means... I understand. I did too. Understood that I was trading one kind of danger for another, that safety was an illusion I'd been chasing my whole life. Sheila studied me for a long moment. You're running from something, aren't we all? She smiled, sad and knowing. Yeah, I guess we are. Be here at 6 tomorrow morning. And Emma? Whatever you're running from, I hope it's worth it. So did I. Marco was waiting outside, leaning against the Mercedes like he had all the time in the world. He straightened when he saw me, reading something in my expression that made his own soften fractionally. You got the job. I did. I climbed into the car, the leather seats already familiar. How did you know? You are smiling. It is small, but it is there. He pulled into traffic with the smooth competence of someone who'd driven these streets 1,000 times. Mr. Salvatore will be pleased. Does he need to know everything about my life? He will know anyway. Better you tell him yourself. I stared out the window, watching the city slide past. Those men who came into the diner, Nico and his friend. They work for someone named Castellano. Marco's hands tightened on the wheel, just slightly. You should not concern yourself with such things. Kind of hard not to when they're collecting protection money from my new employer. All businesses in this city pay for protection. It is the way things work. And who does Dante pay? The question came out before I could stop it. Marco's laugh was short and sharp. Mr. Salvatore does not pay. Others pay him. The implication settled over me like a shroud. I'd suspected, of course. The bodyguards, the expensive suits, the way people reacted to his name, but suspecting and knowing were different things. I couldn't say the words. He is a man of influence, Marco said carefully. A man who protects what is his. And you, Signorina, are under his protection now, which means the Castellanos cannot touch you. Cannot touch your employer either, once word spreads. I don't want to be the reason Sheila gets caught in some kind of territorial dispute. Then you should have chosen a different diner. But what is done is done. He glanced at me in the rearview mirror. Mr. Salvatore does not give his protection lightly. It is a gift. You should learn to accept it. But gifts always came with strings attached. I'd learned that with Marcus, the jewelry that came with demands, the flowers that came with apologies for bruises, the promises that came with cages. We pulled up to the building, and my stomach clenched when I saw Dante standing on the steps, phone pressed to his ear. He was speaking Italian, his voice low and dangerous, and the man on the other end of the line was clearly getting an earful. When he saw the car, his expression shifted, the anger smoothing into something warmer. He ended the call and opened my door himself before Marco could. How did it go? I got the job. I stepped past him, trying to maintain distance, but he fell into step beside me. I start tomorrow. The silver spoon. It wasn't a question. Of course he knew. That is Castellano territory. So I gathered. We entered the building, and he stopped me with a hand on my arm. His touch was gentle, but I felt the strength beneath it, the leashed power. You will not work there. Excuse me? I turned to face him fully. You don't get to make that decision. I do when it puts you in danger. His eyes were hard now, all traces of charm gone. The Castellanos and my family, we have an understanding. But it is fragile. You working in one of their establishments complicates things. Then I'll uncomplicate them. I need this job, Dante. I need to work, to earn my own money, to feel like I have some control over my life. I can give you work. In one of my restaurants, my clubs, somewhere safe. Somewhere you can watch me every minute. I pulled my arm free. No. Thank you, but no. His jaw clenched, a muscle ticking beneath the skin. You are stubborn. I'm independent. There's a difference. Independent women end up hurt in this city. End up dead. The words hung between us, a threat and a warning, and something else I couldn't quite name. I thought of the blood on the street, the man dragged into the SUV, the violence that simmered just beneath the surface of everyday life. I've been hurt before, I said quietly. I survived. Something flickered in his eyes, recognition, maybe, or understanding. The man you are running from, he hurt you. That's none of your business. It is now. He stepped closer, and I held my ground even though every instinct screamed retreat. Tell me his name, Emma. Tell me where to find him. I will make sure he never touches you again. The offer should have horrified me. Instead, I felt a dark satisfaction curl in my stomach, a vindictive pleasure at the thought of Marcus afraid, Marcus hurt, Marcus begging. I crushed the feeling ruthlessly. I don't need you to fight my battles. Perhaps not, but I will anyway. His hand came up, tucking a strand of hair behind my ear with devastating gentleness. You cannot stop me from protecting you, from caring what happens to you. You don't even know me. Then let me. His voice dropped, intimate and compelling. Have dinner with me tonight. Let me learn who you are. Emma Thompson, who is not really Emma Thompson. My breath caught. You know. I know you are running. I know you are afraid. I know someone hurt you badly enough that you changed your name and your entire life to escape. His thumb traced my cheekbone, and I shivered despite myself. But I do not know your real name, do not know your story, do not know what made you brave enough to start over alone. And if I say no to dinner? His smile was slow and dangerous. Then I will ask again tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after that. I am a patient man, Piccola, and I have decided that you are worth waiting for. You can't just decide that. You can't just claim me like I'm some kind of possession. Can I not? He leaned in, his lips nearly brushing my ear. You moved into the apartment next to mine. Into my territory, under my protection. Whether you accept it or not, you are mine now. Mine to keep safe, mine to care for. He pulled back, his eyes burning into mine, and eventually, mine to keep. I should have been terrified, should have run screaming. Instead, I felt heat pooling low in my belly, a traitorous attraction to this man who was everything I should avoid. One dinner, I heard myself say. But that's all. His smile was triumphant. We will see. He picked me up at 7, not bothering to knock, just opening my door with a key I hadn't given him. I was still processing the violation when he appeared in my bedroom doorway, impossibly elegant in a black suit and crisp white shirt. How did you get a key to my apartment? I demanded. I own the building. He said it casually, like it was obvious. Now, are you ready? We have reservations. I stood there in my best dress, a simple navy blue sheath that was 2 years old, and showed it, feeling suddenly inadequate. You own the building. See, I own many buildings. He looked me over, and his expression softened. You look beautiful. I look like someone who can't afford better. You look like someone who does not need expensive things to be beautiful. There is a difference. He offered his hand. Come. The restaurant will not hold our table forever, even for me. The restaurant was the kind of place I'd never been, the kind I'd walked past 1,000 times and never imagined entering. Crystal chandeliers and starched white tablecloths, waiters who moved like dancers, prices on the menu that made my monthly rent look reasonable. Dante ordered for both of us in flawless Italian, his voice doing things to the language that should have been illegal. The sommelier appeared with wine that probably cost more than my car, and I took perhaps too large a sip, needing the courage it provided. Tell me about yourself, Dante said, once we were alone. The truth this time. What makes you think I'll tell you the truth? Because I am asking. Because you are tired of lying. Because... He reached across the table, his fingers finding mine. Because some part of you wants to trust me. Even though you are fighting it. He was right, and I hated him for it. Hated how easily he read me, how effortlessly he slipped past my defenses. My real name is Emma Richardson, I began, the words tumbling out before I could stop them. I'm from a small town in Ohio. I came here 2 years ago with my boyfriend Marcus. We were going to start a life together, get married, have kids. All the normal things. But he was not normal. No. I took another drink of wine. At first it was small things, jealousy disguised as love, control disguised as care. By the time I realized what was happening, I was trapped, isolated from friends, from family, completely dependent on him. Dante's expression darkened, his hand tightening around mine. He hit you. Among other things. I pulled my hand back, needing distance for this part. 3 weeks ago, I finally left, waited until he was at work, packed everything I could fit in my car and drove. I didn't know where I was going, just away. And you ended up here. I ended up next door to you. I met his eyes, which might have been a mistake, or fate. He leaned back, regarding me with an intensity that made my skin prickle. This Marcus, does he know where you are? I don't think so. I was careful. Careful is not enough. He pulled out his phone, typed something quickly. Give me his full name, a photo if you have one. Why? So I can make sure he never finds you. And if he does... His smile was cold and sharp as a knife. I will make sure he regrets it. I should refuse, should tell him I could handle this myself. But I was so tired of being afraid, and the thought of someone powerful standing between me and Marcus was intoxicating. Marcus Chen, I whispered. He's a financial analyst, lives in Columbus. Dante typed the name, then set his phone aside. Consider it handled. Just like that. Just like that. You are under my protection now, Emma Richardson. That means no one hurts you, no one frightens you, no one takes from you what you do not wish to give. His eyes burned into mine, including me. The food arrived, interrupting the moment, and I'd never been more grateful. We ate in relative silence, the tension between us thick enough to cut. Every time I glanced up, he was watching me, cataloging every movement, every expression. Why are you doing this? I finally asked. You could have any woman you want. Why fixate on me? Because you interest me. Because you are brave and broken and beautiful. Because... He paused, choosing his words carefully. Because I see in you something that calls to me. A kindred spirit, perhaps. Someone who understands darkness because you have lived in it. I'm not dark. I'm just damaged. We are all damaged, Piccola. The question is what we do with our scars. The dinner ended with tiramisu and espresso, and then we were in his car. A different one this time. A sleek Aston Martin that purred like a living thing. He drove with casual expertise. One hand on the wheel, the other resting possessively on my thigh. I knew I should move it. Knew I should maintain boundaries, protect myself. But his touch was warm and steady, an anchor in a world that had been nothing but turbulence for so long. Come up to my apartment, he said as we pulled into the building's garage. Let me show you something. Dante. Just to talk. Nothing more, unless you want more. His smile was wicked. But I am a patient man. I can wait. Against my better judgment, I followed him. His apartment was everything mine wasn't. Spacious and elegant, decorated with obvious wealth and impeccable taste. Original artwork on the walls, furniture that whispered of Italian craftsmanship, windows that looked out over the city like a kingdom waiting to be claimed. And books, everywhere, lining the walls, stacked on tables, a collection that spoke of a mind that sought knowledge and beauty in equal measure. You're surprised, he observed. I expected, I don't know, something different. Something more stereotypically mafioso. His eyes crinkled with amusement. I am a complicated man, Emma. I contain multitudes. He poured us both grappa, the clear liquid catching the light like liquid diamonds. We stood by the window, looking out at the city below, and I felt the weight of the moment settling around us. I need you to understand something, I said quietly. I can't be what you want me to be. I'm too broken, too afraid. I don't know how to trust anymore. Then I will teach you. He set down his glass and turned to face me fully. I will show you that not all powerful men are cruel, that protection does not have to be a cage, that you can be safe and still be free. That's impossible. Nothing is impossible, Piccola, only difficult. His hand cupped my face, tilting it up to his. Let me try. Let me prove to you that I am different. He was going to kiss me. I could see it in his eyes, in the way he leaned closer, in the sudden tension of his body. And God help me. I wanted him to. Wanted to feel something other than fear. Wanted to lose myself in this dangerous, beautiful man who promised safety even as he embodied danger. But before his lips could touch mine, his phone rang. He cursed in Italian, vicious and creative, but answered it. His expression changed as he listened, hardening into something terrible and cold. When? A pause. How many? Another pause, longer this time. I will handle it. Tell the men to stand down until I arrive. He ended the call and looked at me, regret and fury warring in his eyes. I have to go. There is a situation that requires my attention. What kind of situation? The kind you are better off not knowing about. He walked me to the door, his hand on the small of my back. Stay in your apartment tonight. Lock the doors. Do not answer for anyone except Marco. Fear spiked through me. Dante, what's happening? Nothing you need to worry about. I am handling it. At my door, he paused. This thing between us, Emma, it is just beginning. And I promise you, I will make you see that you are safe with me. That you can trust me. Then he was gone, and I was left alone with my racing heart and the taste of what might have been on my lips. I locked my door, all 3 locks, and tried to tell myself I was relieved that nothing had happened. But the lie tasted bitter, and sleep was a long time coming. The screaming woke me at 3 a.m. Not from the street this time, from next door. A woman's voice, high and panicked, then Dante's, low and furious. The sound of something shattering, more screaming. I sat up in bed, my heart pounding, every muscle tensed. This wasn't my business. Whatever was happening in Dante's apartment had nothing to do with me. I should stay here, safe behind my locked door, and pretend I heard nothing. But the woman screamed again, and my feet were moving before I could think better of it. I unlocked my door and stepped into the hallway. Dante's door stood open, light spilling out into the darkness. Shadows moved inside, people arguing, fighting maybe. Marco appeared in the doorway, his face grim. "Signorina, you should not be here." "What's happening? Is someone hurt?" Before he could answer, a woman stumbled out of the apartment. She was young, maybe my age, with dark hair tangled around her face and mascara running down her cheeks. Her dress was expensive but disheveled, one strap hanging off her shoulder. She looked at me with wild eyes. "You," she spat. "You're the new one, the replacement." "I don't know what you're—" "Giulia, basta," Dante's voice cracked like a whip. He appeared behind her, his shirt untucked, hair mussed, looking more dangerous than I'd ever seen him. "Enough. You are embarrassing yourself." "Embarrassing myself?" Giulia laughed, the sound breaking on a sob. "You replaced me with her, with some nobody, some American trash you found God knows where." "I did not replace you because you were never mine to begin with." His voice was ice. "We had an arrangement. You knew the terms. You chose to break them. I loved you." She whirled to face him, her hands balled into fists. "I gave you everything, and you gave me what I paid for." The cruelty in his words made me flinch. "Nothing more. Now you will leave, or Marco will escort you out. Choose." Giulia's face crumpled. She looked at me again, and I saw genuine pain beneath the anger. "He will do the same to you," she whispered. "He will make you love him, make you need him, and then he will discard you like I mean nothing, like you mean nothing." "Signorina Richardson, please go back to your apartment," Marco said quietly. "This does not concern you, but it did concern me, didn't it? Because I was seeing the truth of what Dante was, what he did to women, the ruthlessness beneath the charm, the cruelty beneath the protection." I turned and fled, slamming my door behind me. My hands shook as I locked it, as I backed away until I hit the wall. This was who he was. A man who bought women, used them, discarded them. A man who— A knock, soft, almost gentle. "Emma, please, let me explain." "Go away." My voice cracked. "What you saw, what she said, it is not the whole truth. Please, let me explain. You don't owe me an explanation. We're nothing to each other." Silence. Then, "If that is what you truly believe, then why are you crying?" I touched my face and found tears I hadn't known I was shedding. "Leave me alone, Dante. I will. If you want me to, I will walk away right now. I will have Marco drive you to work. I will make sure you are safe, but I will not bother you again." A pause. "But I think you do not want me to leave. I think you are afraid of wanting me to stay." He was right. God help me, he was right, and that was more terrifying than anything else. I opened the door. He stood there, looking more human than I'd ever seen him. Vulnerable, almost. His eyes searched my face, and whatever he saw there made something in his expression soften. "Come in," I whispered. He entered my small apartment, and it seemed to shrink around him. He looked around at my sparse belongings, my mattress on the floor, my books stacked against the wall. When he spoke, his voice was gentle. "Giulia was right about some things. We had an arrangement. She was my mistress for 6 months. I paid for her apartment, her clothes, her lifestyle. In return, she provided companionship when I needed it." He turned to face me. "But I never promised her love, never promised her anything beyond what we agreed to. And when I discovered she was passing information about me to the Castellanos, the arrangement ended." "She was spying on you?" "Si. For money, I think, though I do not know for certain. It does not matter now. He stepped closer, and I let him. But you should know. What I feel for you, it is not the same. You are not an arrangement, not a transaction. You are... What? I breathed. What am I to you? I do not know yet, but I want to find out. His hand cupped my face, his thumb wiping away the tears still tracking down my cheeks. Give me a chance, Emma. Let me prove that I can be what you need. I don't even know what I need anymore. Then we will discover it together. He kissed me then, and it wasn't at all what I expected. It was gentle, almost reverent, asking rather than taking. His lips moved against mine with a tenderness that broke something open inside my chest. I kissed him back, my hands fisting in his shirt, pulling him closer even as my mind screamed warnings. When we broke apart, we were both breathing hard. His forehead rested against mine, his eyes closed. Stay with me tonight, he murmured. Not for sex. Just stay. Let me hold you. Let me show you that you are safe. Every rational thought I possessed screamed no. This was dangerous, stupid, a mistake I couldn't take back. But I was so tired of being alone, so tired of being afraid. And his arms around me felt like the first safe place I'd found in years. Just sleeping, I said. Just sleeping. He agreed. We went to his apartment, and his bed was enormous, covered in sheets that felt like silk against my skin. He pulled me against his chest. His arms wrapped around me, and I let myself relax into his warmth. Outside, the city hummed with life and danger, but here, in this moment, I felt protected. Tell me about your family, I whispered into the darkness. His arms tightened fractionally. My family is complicated, my father. He built our empire with blood and fear. My brother, he is more ruthless than I will ever be. My mother, his voice softened. She died when I was 12, cancer. My father never recovered. I'm sorry. It was a long time ago, but it taught me that life is fragile, that we must take what happiness we can when we can. His lips brushed my hair. You make me want things I have not wanted in a very long time, Emma. Things like peace, like simplicity, like waking up next to someone who sees me as a man, not as a monster or a meal ticket. I do see the monster, though, I said quietly. I saw what you did to Julia, the coldness. Yes, that is part of who I am. I cannot deny it. His hand stroked my hair, soothing. But it is not all of who I am. With you, I want to be better, gentler, more human. People don't change, no. But they can choose which parts of themselves to feed. He turned me in his arms until I faced him, his eyes serious in the dim light. I am choosing to feed the part that wants to protect you, to care for you, to make you happy. And the other parts, the violent parts, the cruel parts, those I will save for your enemies, for anyone who tries to hurt you. His smile was dark. See, everyone benefits. I should have been horrified. Instead, I felt a dark satisfaction curl through me at the thought of him unleashing that violence on Marcus, on anyone who'd ever made me feel small and afraid. What was happening to me? Who was I becoming in this man's orbit? But I was too tired to examine it tonight, too tired to fight the feeling of safety his arms provided, so I closed my eyes and let sleep take me, wrapped in the embrace of a man who was both my salvation and my damnation. I woke to sunlight and the smell of coffee. For a moment, I couldn't remember where I was. Then it came rushing back. Dante, his bed, the promises we'd made in the darkness. I sat up, clutching the sheets to my chest, and found him standing by the window, already dressed in another perfect suit, phone pressed to his ear. He was speaking Italian again, his voice hard and clipped. When he saw me awake, his expression softened instantly. I will call you back, he said into the phone, then ended the call. Buongiorno, Bella. Did you sleep well? Better than I have in weeks. The admission felt dangerous. He crossed to the bed, sitting on the edge, his hand finding mine. I had Marco pick up breakfast. There is coffee, pastries, fresh fruit, whatever you wish. I have to work. I start at the diner today at 6. His jaw tightened. I still do not like you working in Castellano territory, and I still don't care what you like. I softened the words with a small smile. This is important to me, Dante. I need to do this myself. He studied me for a long moment. Very well. But you will let Marco drive you there and back. And you will call me if anything at all, makes you uncomfortable. Agreed? Agreed. Bene. He stood, pulling me up with him. Now come, eat. You are too thin, and I intend to remedy that. We ate breakfast in his kitchen, which was bigger than my entire apartment. And I tried not to feel overwhelmed by the casual wealth on display. Everything was top of the line, from the espresso machine that probably cost more than my car, to the fresh flowers in crystal vases. What do? I asked. I mean, I know you're involved in certain things, but what exactly? I own legitimate businesses, restaurants, clubs, a construction company, real estate, obviously. He sipped his espresso. These provide the foundation. The other things. He shrugged. Protection, mainly. People pay for safety, for the assurance that their businesses will not be bothered, their families will not be harmed. That's extortion. It is business. And yes, sometimes the line blurs. He set down his cup. But I am not my father, Emma. I do not hurt innocents. I do not deal in drugs or human trafficking. I have rules, lines I will not cross. And the man in the street 2 nights ago? The blood? His expression darkened. He betrayed us, sold information to a rival family. His death was necessary. The casual way he said it sent chills down my spine. You killed him. I did not personally pull the trigger, but yes, his death was ordered by me. He leaned forward, his eyes boring into mine. Does this frighten you? Make you want to run? Yes, I admitted, but I'm still here. Why? I don't know. The truth felt like failure. Maybe because I'm tired of running. Maybe because despite everything, I feel safer with you than I have anywhere else. Maybe because I'm broken enough to be attracted to danger. You are not broken. You are healing. He stood, offering his hand. And I will protect you while you do. Now come. Marco is waiting to take you to work. The diner was already busy when I arrived, the morning rush in full swing. Sheila put me to work immediately, and I fell into the rhythm of it, taking orders, pouring coffee, balancing plates up my arms. It felt normal, grounding, a reminder that I could still function in the regular world. But the normalcy shattered at lunchtime when Nico walked in. He saw me immediately, his eyes widening in recognition. He slid into a booth and waited until I approached, my notepad trembling in my hands. Well, he said, his smile not reaching his eyes. Sheila's new girl. Didn't realize you'd actually show up. What can I get you? My voice was steady, professional. Information. He leaned back, studying me. Word on the street is you're living in Salvatore's building. In fact, word is you're living in the apartment right next to his. That true? My stomach dropped. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't play dumb. It's a small world, sweetheart. People talk. And people are very interested in Dante Salvatore's new friend. He said the word like it was dirty. Question is, are you just a neighbor, or are you something more? I'm a waitress trying to do my job. That's all. See, I don't think that's all. He pulled out his phone, showed me a photo. It was me and Dante, leaving the restaurant last night, his hand on my back, looking at each other with an intimacy that couldn't be denied. You're sleeping with him. That's none of your business. It is when it affects the balance of power in this city. He leaned forward. Salvatore and Castellano, we have an understanding. Territories are respected, but you working here, in our territory, while fucking him. That sends a message. That says maybe the lines are blurring. I'm not sending any message. I'm just trying to earn a living. Then you should have chosen a different diner. He stood, dropping cash on the table. Tell Salvatore that Mr. Castellano wants a meeting. Tonight. The usual place. And tell him to bring his new pet. We're all very curious about her. He left, and I stood there shaking, the notepad crumpled in my fist. This was exactly what I'd been afraid of. Getting caught in the crossfire of something bigger than myself, something dangerous. I called Dante from the kitchen, my voice barely above a whisper as I relayed what had happened. His response was immediate and sharp. You are done for the day. Marco will pick you up in 10 minutes. Pack your things, but my shift is over. I am handling this. He paused. And Emma? You did the right thing calling me. Thank you for trusting me. The line went dead. Sheila found me in the back, already untying my apron. Trouble? I'm sorry. I have to go. I didn't mean to bring this to your door. She smiled sadly. Honey, trouble was already at my door. You're just the latest chapter. She pressed something into my hand, $200 in worn bills for the hours you worked, and a little extra. You're gonna need it. I can't. You can and you will. Now go. And Emma, whatever you're mixed up in with Salvatore, be careful. He's not like other men. Once he decides you're his, there's no going back. I pocketed the money and fled, emerging onto the street just as Marco pulled up. The ride back to the apartment was silent. My mind racing with possibilities, with fears, with the growing realization that I'd traded one trap for another. But when we arrived, Dante was waiting in the lobby, and the look on his face when he saw me, relief and fury and possessiveness all mixed together, made my breath catch. Are you all right? He pulled me into his arms, and I went willingly, needing his strength. Did they hurt you? Threaten you? No, just talked. Asked questions. Nico is a fool. He pulled back, his hands framing my face. But he is right about one thing. This meeting tonight I must attend, and you will come with me. Why? Because they have seen you now. They know you exist, know you matter to me. If I leave you behind, they will see it as weakness, as shame, as if I am trying to hide you. His eyes burned into mine. But I will never hide you, Emma. You are mine. And I will show the world that I protect what is mine. I don't want to go to some mob meeting, I know. But you must. And I swear to you, I will keep you safe. No one will touch you. No one will harm you. His lips brushed my forehead. Trust me, Piccola. Just this once. Trust me. And God help me. I did. Blocko 5. The meeting was held in a warehouse on the outskirts of the city, the kind of place where screams wouldn't carry and blood could be hosed off concrete floors. I sat in the back of Dante's car, dressed in a simple black dress he'd had delivered to my apartment. Expensive, elegant, armor disguised as clothing. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. Breathe, Piccola, Dante said from beside me, his hand covering mine. They will not harm you. I would burn this city to the ground before I let that happen. That's not as comforting as you think it is. His lips quirked. Perhaps not. But it is the truth. Marco pulled into the warehouse, and I saw the other cars already there. Black SUVs, expensive sedans, vehicles that screamed money and power. Men in suits stood guard, their hands resting casually near concealed weapons. This was real. This was the world Dante lived in. The world I'd stumbled into by accident, or maybe not accident, maybe fate, like he'd said. Dante helped me from the car, his hand firm on my lower back as we walked inside. The warehouse had been cleared except for a long table in the center, chairs arranged on either side like a perverse negotiation. On one side sat Dante's men, Marco and others I didn't recognize. On the other sat men I assumed were Castellanos. And at the head of the table sat the man himself. Salvatore Castellano was older than Dante, maybe 60, with silver hair and a face that had once been handsome, but was now carved hard by years of violence. His eyes were cold as they tracked our approach, lingering on me with an assessment that made my skin crawl. Salvatore, Dante said, his voice cordial but with an edge of steel. Thank you for agreeing to meet, Dante. Castellano's voice was rough, a smoker's rasp. I see you brought the girl. Good. I was curious. Emma is under my protection. She is not part of our business discussions. No? Castellano smiled, showing too many teeth. Then why is she working in one of my establishments? Why is she living in your building, sleeping in your bed? Seems to me she's very much part of our business. Dante's hand tightened on my back, a warning to stay quiet. Emma needed work. She found employment on her own. This does not affect our arrangement, doesn't it? Castellano leaned back, pulling out a cigar. See, I hear things, Dante. I hear your father is not well. I hear your brother is getting ambitious, wanting to expand into territories that belong to others. I hear you're distracted, focused on a woman instead of business. He lit the cigar, the smoke curling up toward the ceiling. Makes me wonder if our arrangement still serves my interests. Our arrangement has served both our interests for 5 years. Nothing has changed. Everything has changed. Castellano gestured at me. This girl. What is she to you? A distraction? A weakness? Or something more? She is mine, Dante said simply. That is all you need to know. Is she worth dying for? The question hung in the air like the smoke. I felt Dante's entire body tense beside me, felt the men around us shift, hands moving toward weapons. This could spiral into violence in seconds, and I would be caught in the middle. Emma is worth whatever price I choose to pay, Dante said quietly. But it will not come to that. We are reasonable men. We can reach an understanding, can we? Castellano stood, and I realized he was shorter than Dante but somehow more menacing. He walked around the table, stopping directly in front of me. What do you say, girl? Are you worth dying for? My voice came out as a whisper. I cleared my throat, forced strength into it. I don't want anyone to die for me. I just want to live my life in peace. Peace. He laughed, the sound devoid of humor. There's no peace in this life, girl. Only power, and the illusion of safety it provides. He looked at Dante. Your father understood this. He built an empire on that understanding. But you're soft, sentimental, dangerous qualities in our world. My father is dying, Dante said flatly. Within months I will lead the family. And when I do, I will remember this conversation. I will remember who stood with me and who questioned my strength. The threat was clear. Castellano heard it, considered it, then nodded slowly. Very well. The girl can work wherever she wants. But she wears your protection publicly, a ring maybe. Something that makes it clear she's yours. That way there's no confusion, no questions about territories or loyalties. Done. Dante's response was immediate. And you owe me a favor. To be called in when I choose. Dante hesitated. A favor from one mob boss to another could mean anything. Murder, betrayal, war. But he looked at me, at the fear I couldn't hide, and his expression softened. Agreed. Within reason. Within reason, Castellano echoed, amused. You are soft, but we have a deal. He extended his hand, and Dante shook it, sealing whatever pact they'd just made. We left quickly after that, and I didn't breathe properly until we were back in the car, the warehouse disappearing behind us. A ring? I said finally. You promised him you'd give me a ring. An engagement ring, yes, or something close enough to send the message. He pulled a small velvet box from his pocket, and my heart stopped. I had this made for you today. After what happened at the diner, I knew it would come to this. He opened the box, and the ring inside was beautiful. A simple platinum band with a single diamond, elegant and understated, not ostentatious, not a claim of ownership, but a promise of protection. I cannot ask you to marry me. Not yet. We barely know each other, and you are still healing from the man who hurt you. His voice was gentle, but I can ask you to wear this, to let me protect you publicly, to give me the right to stand between you and anyone who would harm you. This is insane. We met 3 days ago, and yet here we are. He took my hand, his thumb brushing over my knuckles. I am not asking for your love, Emma. Not asking for your trust, though I hope to earn it. I am asking for time, for the chance to show you who I am, what I can offer, for permission to keep you safe while you decide if we are something worth pursuing. I looked at the ring, at his face, at the sincerity in his dark eyes. This was crazy, reckless, everything I'd sworn to avoid after Marcus. But it was also the first time in years I'd felt truly safe. The first time someone had asked what I wanted instead of taking it. The first time I'd felt seen, valued, protected, without being possessed. Just protection, I whispered. Not ownership. Never ownership. You are not a thing to be owned, Emma. You are a woman to be cherished. He pulled the ring from the box. But I will not lie and say I do not want you. That I do not desire you, that I do not think about what it would be like to have you fully, completely, in every way that matters. Heat pooled low in my belly at his words, at the promise in his eyes. And if I wear this, What does it mean? It means you are under my protection. It means anyone who harms you answers to me. It means... He paused, searching for words. It means you are mine to protect, and I am yours to trust, if you choose to. I held out my hand, and he slid the ring onto my finger. It fit perfectly, of course, like it was made for me, like this was always meant to happen. I'm scared, I admitted. I know. But I will prove to you that this fear is not necessary, that I am not him. That love, when it comes, does not have to hurt. You're talking about love already? I am Italian. His smile was genuine, warm. We do not know how to do anything halfway. The weeks that followed were a study in contradictions. Dante was possessive but never controlling, protective but never suffocating. He gave me space when I needed it, and held me when I didn't know I needed holding. He taught me about his world, the careful balance of power, the unspoken rules, the cost of safety in a city built on violence. And slowly, carefully, I began to trust him. I stopped working at the diner after Sheila sold it, to Dante, though he claimed it was just good business. He set me up with a job at one of his restaurants instead, managing the books, using the accounting degree I'd never told him about, but he'd somehow discovered. The work was legitimate, the pay was good, and I was surrounded by people who knew I was under Dante's protection. No one touched me. No one even looked at me wrong. Marcus tried to find me twice. The first time, Dante's men intercepted him at the city limits and sent him back to Ohio with a broken nose and a clear message. The second time, Dante himself paid Marcus a visit. He never told me exactly what happened in that conversation, but Marcus never tried again. And the nightmares that had plagued me for months finally began to fade. 3 months after I'd moved into that apartment, fleeing one monster and finding another, Dante took me back to the warehouse, but this time, it was empty except for us. Why are we here? I asked, my voice echoing in the cavernous space. Because this is where you saw who I truly am, he said, pulling me close. Where you saw the violence and the danger and chose to stay anyway, and I wanted to show you something. He led me to the back of the warehouse, to a door I hadn't noticed before. Behind it was an office, beautifully renovated, with windows that looked out over the water. A desk, bookshelves, everything I might need. What is this? Yours, if you want it. He leaned against the desk, watching me explore. I am expanding the legitimate businesses. Restaurants, real estate, construction. I need someone I trust to manage the finances, to keep everything clean and legal. Someone smart, capable, who understands both sides of my world. You're offering me a job? I am offering you a partnership. A role in building something better than what my father built. He moved closer, his hands settling on my waist. I am offering you a future, Emma. With me, if you will have it. I'm still scared sometimes, I whispered. I still wake up afraid, still flinch at sudden movements. I know. And I will spend every day proving that you are safe, that I am different, that this, he gestured between us, is real. It is real, isn't it? I looked up at him, at this beautiful, dangerous man who'd become my salvation. I didn't imagine this. It is very real, amore mio. He cupped my face, his thumb brushing my cheek. I love you, Emma Richardson. I have loved you since you looked at me in that hallway with fear and defiance in equal measure, since you refused my help even as you needed it. Since you showed me that strength is not the absence of fear, but the choice to keep going despite it. Tears spilled down my cheeks. I love you too. God help me. I love you too. He kissed me then, and it was nothing like that first gentle kiss. This was possession and promise, demand and devotion, everything we'd been holding back finally unleashed. I kissed him back with equal fervor, my hands fisting in his hair, my body pressed against his. When we broke apart, we were both breathing hard, both trembling with want and need and love that felt too big for skin to contain. Marry me, he said. Not for protection, not for show. Marry me because you love me, because you want a life with me, because you believe, as I do, that we are better together than apart. Yes. The word came easily, naturally, like it had been waiting in my throat all along. Yes, I'll marry you. He kissed me again, softer this time. I will spend the rest of my life making sure you never regret this choice. I know you will. 6 months later, I stood in a small church surrounded by flowers and candles and people who had become family. Dante waited at the altar in a perfectly tailored suit, his eyes bright with unshed tears as I walked toward him. Marco gave me away, his scarred face gentle as he placed my hand in Dante's. Take care of her, boss, he murmured. She is good for you. I know, Dante said, his eyes never leaving mine. She is everything. The ceremony was simple, the vows traditional, but the promises we made were anything but. We vowed to protect each other, to build a life together, to face the darkness as a united front. We vowed to choose love over fear, trust over doubt, healing over hiding. And when the priest pronounced us married, when Dante kissed me with a tenderness that made the assembled crowd gasp, I knew I had finally found what I'd been running toward all along. Not safety from the world, but safety with someone who understood that the world was dangerous and loved me anyway. Someone who saw my scars and my strength and wanted both. Someone who made me feel powerful instead of powerless, protected instead of possessed. The reception was held at Dante's, our favorite restaurant, the one where he'd first taken me to dinner. We danced under twinkling lights, surrounded by people who wished us well, and for the first time in my life, I felt genuinely happy. What are you thinking? Dante murmured against my ear as we swayed to the music. That I moved into that apartment to hide from a monster and found a man instead, I said. That sometimes the scariest thing we can do is stop running and let ourselves be found. And are you glad you were found? I looked up at him, at this complicated, dangerous, beautiful man who'd become my everything. Every single day, he spun me in his arms, and I laughed, the sound pure and unguarded. Around us, the city hummed with the same violence and danger it always had. But here, in Dante's arms, wearing his ring and his name and his love, I was finally, truly safe. Not because the world had changed, but because I had. Because I'd learned that love doesn't have to hurt, that protection doesn't have to be a cage, that strength comes in many forms, including the strength to trust again. We left the reception early, sneaking away like teenagers, his hand in mine as we walked to the car. The night was cool and clear, stars visible despite the city lights. Where are we going? I asked. Home, he said simply. To start our life together. Home. Not the apartment where I'd hidden, not the warehouse where I'd faced his world, but the penthouse he'd bought for us, a space that was ours, built on love instead of fear. As we drove through the city streets, I thought about the woman I'd been 3 days after moving into that apartment, terrified, broken, alone, and the woman I was now, loved, protected, whole. The journey between those two women had been terrifying and beautiful and absolutely worth it. Because sometimes, when you stop running from your past, you run straight into your future. And sometimes, that future is holding out its hand, offering protection and love, and a chance to build something beautiful from the ashes of what was. I took that hand, I took that chance, and I never looked back.